So we are live.
Hello and welcome to
অবশ্যই
go on.
অবশ্যই আমরা চলে এসেছি আরো একবার ডিজিটাল আইডিয়াস এর পর্দায় দ্য ইউরোপ রিভিউ শো এবং অবশ্যই আজকের দিনটা দ্য গ্র্যান্ড ফিনাল। আমি কথা বাড়াবো না, অবশ্যই চলে যাবো সুমনদার কাছে। সুমনদা আজকের পুরো শোটাকেই অগ্রসর করবে এবং এগিয়ে নিয়ে যাবে অবশ্যই।
Absolutely, and hello and welcome, gentlemen. I mean, আজকে আমাদের সঙ্গে কিছু গ্যালাকটিকো লোকজন রয়েছে, some superstars. Let me introduce with everyone first. You can see Steve Jones, sports scientist from Liverpool, and one of the greatest sports scientists over there in Europe at the moment. A top professional. In the middle, as you can see, Mehtab Hussain, Indian football legend. You all know him. I mean, he doesn't need any introduction. Then comes on his next, actually, it's Andy Cooper. He's also a familiar character with all of you right now. I mean, Andy has been one of the finest youth development coaches in the world at the moment, in Europe at the moment. He worked with Leeds United as youth development head. So, in fact, he's also a fantastic professional. We have Anirvan as well, my co-host over here in this show. So first of all, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, welcome to the show. We had a fantastic preview show since the Euros began, actually. First of all, my question would be to Andy to start with. Andy, who would have thought England would be playing in the big final, and that too against Italy? A lot of memories, a lot of rivalries over the years. Is it coming home or going home?
Well, I'd like to hope it's coming home, and thanks for having me on, Suman. Look, it's been a brilliant tournament, I guess, from our side of things. England have navigated it superbly well. I know in the preview show at the beginning of the tournament, I tipped France, and my kind of underdog for the tournament was Italy, with what they've been producing since Mancini was put in charge after the exploits they had of missing up the World Cup qualification 2018. But obviously they've really showed a resolute defence in how they've approached games, but also they've had that attacking flair. And I'm under no illusions that it's going to be a really difficult game for England tonight. But yeah, absolutely 100% behind the team and hoping that we can have a major success that will be the first time in 55 years for the country.
Well, Mehtab Hussain, I think Mehtab tar kishu network issues, which is back. So my next question would be to Steve before Mehtab finally joins us. Yes, my question would be to Stevie. Stevie Dada, once again, it's England, your nation, who's in the final. What's your call? Is it coming home or going to Rome?
Well, as I'm not actually English, I consider myself Welsh, Suman, so I hope Italy batter England tonight. I'm hoping for 4-0 Italy.
Andy, I want to listen to you.
I can't believe it. I don't think it'll be a 4-0, but I don't think that's a bit tongue-in-cheek. And I know secretly a part of Steve will be hoping for it to come home to the land where he lives.
Suman, as long as Queen Elizabeth isn't in VAR again, I think England won't get it all their own way.
My next question would be to Mehtab Da. Mehtab Da, তুমি ভেবেছিলে when the tournament started যে England final খেলবে Italy against it?
না, দেখো ইংল্যান্ড ফাইনাল খেলবে কিনা এই বছর কোনো টিমকে প্রেডিক্ট করা যায়নি। তুমি দেখো ডেনমার্ক, তুমি দেখো হাঙ্গেরি, হাউ দে প্লে। এই মডার্ন ফুটবলে কে ফাইনাল খেলবে, কে কাকে বিট করবে ইজ ভেরি ডিফিকাল্ট টু প্রেডিক্ট। আমার মনে হয় কোচেসদের মস্তিষ্ক লড়াই হচ্ছে। তুমি যদি কোপা দেখো, আজকে সকালে ফাইনাল, আর্জেন্টিনা এরম ফুটবল লাইফে কোনোদিন খেলেনি। এত প্রেসিং ফুটবল, হাই প্রেসিং, দেন সেকেন্ড হাফে বিহাইন্ড দ্য বল চলে গেছে। তো আমার মনে হয়
I think Mehtab is having some internet issues. I'd be coming back to Stevie Dadas before Mehtab comes in. Stevie, I mean, it has been a roller coaster ride for England players ever since the tournament started. Yeah, I mean, the first couple of games, they received a lot of criticism. But, I mean, ever since Harry Kane has got started scoring goals, it has been a different England altogether, isn't it?
I think they definitely grew into the tournament, haven't they? And usually the teams that grow into the tournament, obviously they're the ones who do better. It's all about becoming stronger in the later stages and not so much about the early stages. Unfortunately, my team Wales, maybe we started it off too good.
Okay. Suranjan versus Suranjan has a question. A quick words on Di Maria's receipt before he scored that goal in the Copa final. আমি এটা মেহতাবটাকে জিজ্ঞাসা করব। Di Mariaর গোলটা নিয়ে কি বলবে?
ডি মারিয়ার গোলটা দেখো ডি মারিয়ার গোলটা হচ্ছে কনফিউজ করেছে দুজন মিলে, এক হচ্ছে মেসি, এক হচ্ছে এটা হচ্ছে যদি বলতে পারো সুমন যে প্রশ্ন করেছে খুব ভালো প্রশ্ন করেছে। তুমি দেখবে লেফট ব্যাকটা এতটাই ছিল, বাইরে দিকে ছিল, তার জন্যই ভিতর থেকে বল একটা পাস হয়েছে আর মেসি আর ডি মারিয়া এক লাইনে ছিল, ওকে কনফিউজ করার জন্য তুমি মেসি কে নেবে না ডি মারিয়াকে নেবে, এই জন্য বিটুইন লেফট ব্যাক and left stopper তাই এত
Mehtab is having a problem in terms of the internet. I'd be coming back to Andy. Andy, the question was a quick word on Di Maria's goal actually, which is scored today, which helped Lionel Messi to touch his first ever major title.
I think it's good to have them. All the discussions and the talks about never winning a major trophy with the international setup and everything all put to bed now, and that's and done and dusted. But for me, it's all been about today's. So there's only one final for me, and that's England-Italy.
Yeah, I'm coming back to Andy for another question. Gareth Southgate, he himself got a lot of criticism. In fact, I mean, during the start of the competition as well, we had a lot of prediction in terms of the lineup. We thought about Jadon Sancho creeping in the first 11. We thought about Marcus Rashford. We thought about starting with Jack Grealish. We perhaps had thought about Calvert-Lewin on the up front as well in place of Harry Kane when he struggled to score a goal in the first couple of games. But Gareth Southgate, he proved everyone wrong, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. He's a very strong man, strong with his convictions, and he's made superb decisions throughout. Ultimately, the English Football Association got to take a lot of credit in how they've developed a national academy, a national facility at St George's Park. A lot of work going on behind the scenes to develop coaches, and Gareth Southgate's been one of them that came into the under-21s with Steve Holland, progressed, experienced tournament football, worked with leading young players in England. And then obviously people suggest he got the fault by, the role by default, really, with Sam Allardyce going after just one game. At the time, and still potentially now, maybe many people wouldn't view him as a top manager in domestic football who would get a top 6 role in the Premier League. But I think the role really suits him. He's reflecting a lot of what the English people value in how he approaches games, how he approaches his relationship with the media. He's obviously discussed it with a lot of former players. He's had the experience himself, both good and bad, and he's had the resilience about him to be able to spin that in a positive way. With regards to his tactics and how he's approached it, right from the start, he was always going to. Harry Kane was his main man, and being on your show a number of times, suggesting that he was never going to be dropped. He was brought off in a game, late on in a game. But we mentioned that idea of just getting that one goal. As soon as you get that goal, the confidence it brings to the team. And the same with Sterling as well. If you look at his record over recent times for England, it's been superb, despite the criticism and potentially people having a pop at what he's like in front of goal. You've shown what contribution he could make. So, he goes into it as potentially one that you wouldn't favour for a job in domestic football, but he's really suited to international football management, and he's obviously shown it.
Well, I'd be coming back to Steve. Of course, both the teams are fantastically fit in terms of their players' perspective. Running 90 minutes up and down, played some 120-minute scheme as well, and never seemed to be tired before heading that big final over there at the Wembley. I still wonder why you are not there at the Wembley today. My question would be to Stevie Dada, in terms of fitness, how do you rate these two teams?
I'd say Italy, to me, look the fittest team. I'm not just saying that because I have a slight bias against England, but Italy do look the fittest team. They look like they're full of energy. But on the reverse of that, I don't think you can really question what's being done with England to be able to get the same work outputs that the players are given game after game after game in a season which is being condensed due to COVID. I think it speaks volumes for the people who are working at the clubs, and also speaks really well of the work that's being done with England and also with Italy with the support staff.
Brilliant. My next question would be from Krishnendu Maiti. He has a question: 7th Ballon d'Or loading for Lionel Messi?
Who knows? There's obviously opportunities for other players who can put themselves on the biggest stage at the moment, and the biggest one we've got is obviously Euro 2020, although curtailed for a year. But yeah, let's see. Obviously, fantastic player, and it's good to have that put to bed. All the doubts about big performances in big games and carrying a nation is obviously shown that in the performances over recent times.
Stevie Dada, next question would be to you. Mehtab is back as well. Mehtab, can you hear us? তুমি শুনতে পাচ্ছ আমাদের?
হ্যাঁ, শুনতে পাচ্ছি, ক্লিয়ার। নেটের একটু সমস্যা হচ্ছে।
হ্যাঁ, নেক্সট কোয়েশ্চেন তোমার কাছে সেটা হচ্ছে, তুমি রোবার্টো ম্যানচিনিকেও দেখেছো, তুমি গ্যারেথ সাউথগেটকেও দেখলে এই ইউরো কাপে। ট্যাকটিক্যালি তুমি কাকে এগিয়ে রাখবে ফাইনালের আগে?
দেখো সুমন, একটু আগেই বলছিলাম, ব্যাপারটা হচ্ছে কোপাটা দেখে তোমার দেখে মনে হয়েছে পুরো ফুটবলটাই চেঞ্জ হয়ে গেছে।
Internet issues. Internet issues for Mehtab. I'll be going to Steve. Stevie, I mean, we were discussing about the fitness level of both the teams. Coming back to Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi, this rivalry. 10th of July 2016, Cristiano Ronaldo won the Euros. 2021, 10th of July, it's Lionel Messi who lifts a major title. How do you see their rivalry? It's even Stevens at some point of corner.
With them being a similar age, obviously they're both on the way down, aren't they? It'd be interesting to see what Lionel Messi's next move is, and also what Ronaldo's next move is, if they can maintain it at the top. Concerning Ronaldo, I would expect him to play in the next World Cup because he's so fit. For Messi, I think it all depends on what league he moves to. If he's clever, maybe he moves to a league where it's not so quick and he's able to still compete and then maintain his place in the national team. Yeah, without doubt, it's been the biggest rivalry of my lifetime in football.
মেহতাবদাকে যে প্রশ্নটা করছিলাম গ্যারেথ সাউথগেট এবং রোবার্টো মানচিনি নিয়ে, তুমি যেটা বলছিলে।
দেখো, একজন পাসিং ফুটবল যেটা আমরা ইতালিকে কোনোদিন দেখিনি, এত বেশি পাসিং ফুটবল, এত মুভমেন্ট প্লেয়ারদের সাথে। তোমার যে প্লেয়ারগুলো ফুটবল খেলছে, ইতালি ফুটবল হচ্ছে একটু ডিফেন্সিভ করবো, দেন কাউন্টার অ্যাটাকে যাবো, সেই কিন্তু ইতালি এই মানচিনির হাতে সেই ইতালি কিন্তু পুরোপুরি টোটালি চেঞ্জ সুমন। তো আমার মনে হয় দুটো কোচ দুটো মেন্টালিটি নিয়ে নেমেছে। একজন কাউন্টার অ্যাটাকে খেলছে, আর একজন যে ফুটবল ফ্লোয়িং ফুটবল, যেটা ম্যান সিটিতে দেখেছি, যখন ম্যান সিটিকে নিয়েছিল তখন দেখেছিলাম কিভাবে ফুটবল তোমার কতটা মুভ করা যায়, কতটা ফুটবল নিজে টিকি টাকা খেলা যায়। সেইটা কিন্তু দুরকম, তুমি কাকে এগিয়ে আছে কে পিছিয়ে আছে, যে যার নিজের দিক দিয়ে ঠিক, এইটুকু আমি বলবো। কে এগিয়ে আছে কে পিছিয়ে আছে ম্যাচের পরেই বোঝা যাবে সুমন, কে এগিয়ে আছে কে পিছিয়ে আছে। আগে থেকে তুমি প্রেডিক্ট করতে পারবে না। সাউথগেট চাইছে আমি ক্লিন শিট রাখবো, দেন আমি গোল করতে যাব। ওনার মেন্টালিটি হচ্ছে আমি ক্লিন শিট রাখবো, গোল খাবো না। আর একটা কথা, I think always said, like Steve Coppell said, Trevor Morgan said, clean sheet win title, if I'm not wrong. Individual maybe 1, 2 or 3 matches win, right? So এটা সাউথগেটের থিঙ্কিং, যে আমি ক্লিন শিট রাখবো, ক্লিন শিটের টাইটেল। তাই জন্য তুমি দেখো এক গোল 2 গোল করে কিন্তু ফাইনাল অব্দি গেছে ইংল্যান্ড। They are very strong as a defensively.
Well, this question I have for Andy as well, just what Mehtab mentioned, that you got it as well. like attack when you gains, defense when you tackles. 5 clean sheets in this particular competition for England. Yes, one set piece goal that happened yesterday, or rather in the last match against Denmark, but that goal also raised a lot of question marks about the number of players who were there in the close contacts with the defensive teams. A lot of controversies, but still, defensively, England seemed to be absolutely inexorable. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I've been really impressed with Luke Shaw. First and foremost, defender's job is to stop the ball going in the back of the net. So you can talk about Luke Shaw in advanced positions and Kyle Walker in advanced positions, but ultimately I think the defensive work's been solid as well. Kyle Walker, so quick to recover, and his positioning when the ball's on the opposite side of the pitch has been superb. Pickford, as you've known in previous big games and big moments, he does have these tendencies of lapsing concentration and some erratic moments, and a couple of them spilt into the last game, and you didn't know whether that was a kind of big occasion having an impact. But ultimately, as a unit, as a back four or back three with a goalkeeper, they've been very solid. But I think that also starts from the front as well, and that's why it's going to be interesting how England set up today, because clearly the issue is going to be if they don't, if Italy are able to get the ball to Jorginho repeatedly without any pressure on from either potentially a Mason Mount if he's playing in attacking position, or one of the midfielders having to go and put pressure on him like Phillips or Rice, it's going to leave potentially Verratti and Barella as an option with an overload. So it's going to be interesting. It's definitely a full team defending, not just the back four or the back three and the goalkeeper. It's a whole team when England don't have the ball. But they've been very resolute in how they've done it. But also when they've been able to recover the ball, it's about their moments to break. And I think that's going to be key. You know, Kane's not going to be wanting to press up against his backside up against the centre halves today. He's going to want to drop a little bit shorter and try and draw them in and get some space for then players like Raheem Sterling on the transition to be able to come in off the wing and receive it in their little pockets.
Well, I have a question for Stevie Dada before I come to Mehtab. Stevie, one more question I have in terms of the fitness level, which we discussed just a few minutes back. You have been a maestro in terms of fitness and conditioning. We have seen how Leonardo Bonucci and Giorgio Chiellini have been playing on the heart of the Italian defense. 2 players combined ages 70 years, can you believe it? But they have been playing like they're just 20s. How do you rate their fitness level?
Well, I can't remember which one it is, so you have to forgive me. But I know one of them's come back from an ACL injury not so long ago, which makes it even more remarkable, especially playing the condensed season that's also happened in Serie A and then going straight onto a Euros. I think if you look historically, you've got Maldini, who's another Italian defender, Costa Curta, another one, and Nesta, another one who also went on to play quite late into their careers. And potentially, it's a genetic predisposition that Italians have got, or they just look after themselves extremely well throughout the career. But as you mentioned, it's an unbelievable feat, and fingers crossed they can keep a clean sheet tonight. Come on, Italy!
Unbelievable. I just see the smile on the face of Andy, and that says it all. My next question would be to Mehtab. মেহতাব, তোমার পজিশনে যে দুজন খেলছে এই মুহূর্তে, ডেকলান রাইস এবং ক্যালভিন ফিলিপস ইংল্যান্ডে, this combination has been absolutely new. It's a new form of combination which has been playing on the heart of the defense. আমরা usually দেখি জর্ডান হেন্ডারসনকে খেলতে ডেকলান রাইসের পাশে। তোমার ক্যালভিন ফিলিপসকে কেমন লাগছে? হোপফুলি বলে রাখি, ক্যালভিন ফিলিপসকে কিন্তু পুরোটাই ডেভেলপ করেছেন অ্যান্ডি কুপার, আমাদের সঙ্গে অ্যান্ডি রয়েছে।
both a very, very good player like Rice and Phillips. They are very strong. They are very agile. They are very they are very technically sound. I like both of them, like Rice and Phillips. They are backbone of the team. They are backbone of the team.
Yeah,
defensive midfielder. They are outstanding. They give everything, like Kante, you know Kante হচ্ছে তোমার যত নোংরা কাজ, যেটা আমরা কি বলি সুইপার লাইক আমরা যেরকম ঝাড় দিই বা যত নোংরা কাজ, বাড়ির কাজ আমি কান্টে করবে। রাইস আর ফিলিপস দেন ইংল্যান্ডের জন্য তাই করছে। তুমি দেখো ফ্রি রোল হচ্ছে তোমার হ্যারি কেনের, ফ্রি রোল হচ্ছে তোমার স্টার্লিং এর, ফিল হলো হচ্ছে
Bukayo Saka, yeah. Once again, network problem. My question was to Mehtab regarding Calvin Phillips. I'd be asking this question to Andy as well. Andy, you are a part of his development as well. The guy is playing the final, a big final. How much proud are you about your former student?
Well, yeah, he's always an established first-team player when I was at the academy, but such a humble young man who's obviously grown incredibly over the last period. The biggest part for me has been that it doesn't necessarily mean that you have these players who come through the national youth system and play under 15s, 17s. They travel and they play in these tournaments to prepare themselves and win under 17s World Cups like England have done. This also lack of experience could be an advantage because the drop team, they're new, but they adapt and they're kind of unknown for some people in how they play. You saw him play in a little bit more advanced position in a couple of games instead of playing that kind of quarterback position like he's played for Leeds and dropping into a back four and giving an extra player so the fullbacks can push on in that Bielsa kind of style. So his journey's been superb, and it wouldn't potentially be a lot of people's first pick with Jordan Henderson coming back from injury. And I think that's what England have had. They've not stumbled across a system because he's played his 4-2-3-1, if that's how you want to call it, and a 3-4-3. But it's very fluid and dynamic, and he's found the players that fit, and also the players have given question marks over the positioning that they want to play in. So he's then been able to develop a style around the players they have. But obviously the ultimate test, and I think that's where a couple of key areas and battles for me today will be that Calvin Phillips and Declan Rice in the midfield against maybe a potential three midfield of Italy, and then how England are going to be able to handle up against the two leading centre-backs that Italy are providing. I think they're going to be the two key areas of the game. But yeah, ultimately, the city that I'm in, very proud of a hometown boy to be able to progress through in a superb academy and then deliver on the biggest stage, and what an occasion it is for him today.
Next question, I'd be taking the question of Suranjan for sure, but before that, I'd be having a question to Steve. Stevie, I mean, what made you an Italy fan despite being an English?
They've got a chance to beat England tonight. Anyone who's playing England, I always support the team that's playing England. I consider myself Welsh, not English.
Andy, all yours.
Well, let's see. I think the phones will be red hot later on when the game starts. But look, it's an interesting day here. People are not used to the emotion. People are not used to it. With my generation have lived through disappointments. Italian 9th, you can go on and on. Even thinking of some of the big days and the songs and the chants that are going on. Most of it is a joke upon ourselves for the failure that we've had, and we're used to failing. But this team's really turned it around, and the style they're playing and the way they've approached things have been really positive. One more huge hurdle against a really impressive Italy team. I do think it'll be really close, to be fair.
Well, we'll be taking the question of Suranjan now, and this question would be especially to Andy. If you have to pick the best 11 of Euro before the final kickoff, what would be that, and what possible formation will that 11 play?
Well, a tough one to pick 11 out of this, really. But you would say that it's quite natural to have quite a lot of the players that are playing in tonight's final would be players that do rightly deserve. And not all of them would have been your players before the tournament that you would have said are going to be your standouts. But that happens in every tournament. You can go back to, and it's quite apt at the moment. You can go back to Italia 90 and Schillaci, an unfancied striker, come in and making an impact. We talked about Chiesa at the start of the tournament potentially not being in the starting lineup. We talked about for Italy, Locatelli being a starting player and now not being able to get his plays. Obviously the injury with Spinazzola. So a lot of the players are on show tonight. The way Italy have defended, you'd have to say that they'd be in your top, but also you got to look at other contributing factors from some of the other nations as well. So tough one to put 11 down on paper, but ultimately it's not about individuals. It's about a team. You can have the best team, but they don't gel and they don't get the job done. There'll be weak links, or there'll be players here in the starting lineup for both sides that are kind of unsung heroes. And they do difficult jobs that when you go to a game live or you watch a tactical cam where you can see both goals and all the players, a lot of work's done off the ball, and comes into Steve's realm really with positioning and recovering, and that constant workload that players have. So some of them don't catch the eye for technical reasons, but more for how they dominate the game, and no more so than the two centre backs in Chiellini and Bonucci, and that they're not going to beat Sterling in a foot race, but the positioning, the timing of the jumps, the physical nature of what they can do, puts them leading centre backs in the tournament.
Well, my next question would be to Stevie Dada there before I go to Mehtab again. Stevie Dada, I mean, the games are happening thick and fast. Every week, 2 games, 3 games. After toiling in a Premier League season, respective Serie A seasons, Champions League matches, Europa League matches, how do you see these players are recovering from the last game?
Well, I think all you can do, Suman, is see how they've recovered from the past games that they've played in the tournament so far, and there doesn't seem to be much of a reduction in work rate. Unfortunately, I don't have any figures in front of me, so it's only from the naked eye. But I haven't seen too much of a drop off in any sort of work rate, and I think with it being a final, it's likely the players are going to be full of adrenaline, and especially for some of the English players who usually don't get to finals, and by now normally they're back at home. So I'd be expecting that, especially the English players will be really willing runners tonight.
Mehtab দাদা তোমার প্রশ্ন দাদা, ইমোবিলে নাকি হ্যারি কেন ফাইনালে রাখি কাকে এগিয়ে রাখছে? শাশ্বত তালুকদারের প্রশ্নটাও কিছুটা তাই। Please talk about Immobile. I think Belotti is better choice in the starting 11 than Immobile for today's game. I'd be coming about this question to Andy as well, but before that, Mehtab. Mehtab da শুনতে পাচ্ছো? Network issues. Coming back to হ্যাঁ, প্রশ্ন এসছে ইমোবিলেকে নিয়ে যে আজকের ম্যাচে কি ইমোবিলের জায়গায় বেলোত্তি স্টার্ট করতে পারে?
না, সুমন যেটা সেটআপ হবে, আমি যতটা মেন্টালিটি জানি কিছুটা ফরেন কোচের, উইনিং ট্র্যাক বা উইনিং এটা টিমটা কোনো সময় ব্রেক করে না। কিছু কিছু ক্ষেত্রে হয়তো সাবস্টিটিউটে নিয়ে আসবে, কিন্তু আমার মনে হয় না ফার্স্ট টিমে যেটা একটা টিম রেজাল্ট দিয়েছে সেই টিমকে কিন্তু ব্রেক দেবে না। যেখানে আজকে সকালে আমি আবার কেন তুলনা করছি, আজকে সকালে মেসিকে জানতো, মেসির
network problem once again. I mean, question to Andy. I mean, it's a technical question. Please talk about Immobile. I think Belotti is a better choice in the starting 11 than Immobile for today's game. What do you think? Andy?
Yeah, I tend to agree, but it's clear that Mancini doesn't fancy him, does he? Belotti has not played as many minutes. I know he consistently comes up with 15, 20 goals a season in Serie A as a good player, but he's found a system that he likes, and the way Mbale he plays, it allows them wingers, and I know he's done really well with Chiesa, who obviously wasn't a first choice at the start of the tournament, to be able to come and play and be more of a threat. So I think it's about fitting the balance round. I do think he is a better number 9, Belotti, but ultimately he's going to go with the one that he feels is going to stretch play a bit more and allow them to players playing off him, Insigne and obviously Chiesa on the other side, to be able to push and give the English fullbacks or potentially wingbacks, whoever set up, a problem. I think Emerson, potentially, if he's going to play left back, he seems to be more the attacking that helps Insigne come in and play off the line a little bit. So, but I do think if it's not working, he won't be shy to change it with Mancini. It seems that he's pretty set on this. He's stumbled across this front three through the tournament. I know he hasn't scored since the group stages as well, so it'll be interesting whether he sticks with him today.
My next question would be to Stevie. Stevie, I mean, we all know that Kyle Walker is no longer younger compared to the other players who'd be there on the pitch. But I mean, he has been absolutely brilliant in terms of sprinting things down. We have seen this throughout the course of this tournament as well. In terms of pace, he's absolutely one of the quickest among all the players. How do you see this transformation of Kyle Walker? He was always fast, but after the injury, he has been absolutely quick once again.
He's probably got to take a little bit of credit for it himself. He obviously takes his career very seriously, and he looks after himself really well. and the support staff who he works with daily at Manchester City, again, seem to be doing a great job. But it's also possible that as he's got older, he's got more game intelligence, which Andy and Mehtab will be able to give you more information on that. So he makes less sprints, but the ones he does make are more visual to the fans because they're the ones that need it. They were the ones that were ultimately required. But he's always been really quick, and he's a real speed machine. And I don't really see that change. I don't really see that change. If you look at Aubameyang, who's into his 30s now, also still a speed machine. I think with the advances that you've got now in training technologies and in training methods, recovery methods, players the drop off in speed isn't going from here to here anymore. The drop off is becoming a lot small. It's dropping off on very, very small parts as opposed to big parts as players got older from years gone by.
Well, my next question would be to Andy, of course. And this question would be certainly about the formation. We have seen that Gareth Southgate made some significant changes in terms of formation against Germany, as it was a tough game. He countered Germany's 3-5-2 with a 3-5-2. Do you see him doing the same against Italy again, and because they play in a 4-3-3 combination?
Yeah, a lot of talk is on formations, and they both play a very fluid way. Players drift in and drift out of so it's difficult to kind of nail down exactly. But in the kind of basic terms, I thought England would stay with that 4-2-3-1 and play an attacking midfielder like Mason Mount, because the difficulty they're going to have is if Italy are able to get the ball to Jorginho, he's kind of the glue. He makes things happen. He makes things tick. He can get the ball through into the two more advanced midfielders if it's Verratti and Barella. So I think that's going to be interesting. If they play with the 3-4-3 and they go for the wing backs, the obvious massive advantage for England is they might be able to move the centre backs out of position a little bit more, because the English wing backs can get really high. People like Raheem Sterling, if it's Rashford or Sancho, I don't know if Saka will retain his place. I think there's a doubt about him. Whether it comes when they come in off the line, they can then obviously draw players with them and create space to get in behind. And we know that Kane at the start, probably, I wouldn't be surprised if England set up and a couple of balls from maybe Phillips and Rice and knocked over the centre-backs' heads into them diagonals, into them corners earlier on to get them turn and kind of bring out some space between the lines, and then England start to probe. England's obviously are quite slow to build the attack from the goalkeeper. They play a lot of sideways and backwards to retain it. And I think the main threat from England in terms of being able to advance higher up to the pitch will become of them moments where they can recover the ball from Italy, and in them transitions, Italy have gaps. And then between the lines, you've got players like Mount, Sterling, whether it's Rashford, Sancho, for example, are able to then get on the half turn and play and attack them centre backs. Certainly, they don't want to get into an aerial duel with the two centre backs. They're not going to win much there. It's going to be more a case of standing them up 1v1, or even Kane dropping short and using the clever combinations like Spain did for that goal, where it was a little 1-2 and they're able to get in behind. So I can understand if they play a back three and play wing backs. I wouldn't have thought he would, but it would. It's big moments now and big games. I think you're not going to drift too far away from the two formations they've used over the last few years. Finals aren't a day for radically changing your plans. It's about going with your strengths and what you know. But if they do play that three at the back, my concern would be that they get overrun slightly in midfield with Verratti, Barella, and Jorginho up against Phillips and Declan Rice.
Well, we just received a comment from one of our friends and one integral parts of Digital Ideas, Suranjan versus Suranjan. Before this comment, I request Anirban to put up or rather pop up the previous comment. Yes, I think this is very, very emotional one. I lost my father last week. He was an ardent follower of Digital Ideas. All his blessings are with you, and we'll be ecstatic somewhere from the point of return to see the success of this channel, and especially the way Anirban and Sumantaka raised this show. Thank you so very much. I'm sure, Andy and Stevie, they will also be enjoying all your love and support for this increasingly popular football show. I'll be taking the next question from Suranjan. He questioned something. Anirban, can you please pop up that question so that we can check it? Yeah, slightly off topic. This is something which we cannot take because Mehtab's is not there in terms of the internet issues and all. I'd be going to Shashwat Talibdar's.
What a prediction that is, by the way. I like that. Great prediction.
Stevie Dada, you are a nuisance all the time around. Coming back to Stevie Dada's, can you hear me, Stevie Dada?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah. So my question is like, you must be, whole of England. I heard some sort of, as Ishan Ghosh said, Andy, he's with us. It's coming home, guys.
Very much hope so.
Yeah, so in front of the St. George's Park, when the players were coming back from the training, on both sides of the roads, are full of, innumerable number of, fans and all, and shouting, cheering for England. Amazing scenes. I mean, isn't it a festival going around over there in England since 1966? Not even a single silverware.
I think you're probably better giving that one to Andy. I hope it carries on, Suman, and there's no silverware by the end of the day.
Andy?
Yeah, look, we've been absolutely starved of success, but something needed to change. If you look at Germany, big nations, I'd never really considered us a powerhouse of any football, but we have a dominant league, but a strong league that's influxed with players from overseas as well. But I also think we were massively undervalued as coaches and some of the young players that have come through. But if you look at Germany, they rebooted the football system quite, famously. Italy have done the same after a failing, and England needed a big, reevaluation of where they were in terms of the direction they were going in, and having a national centre, like I spoke about earlier, having a complete pathway through for young players, having exposure to youth tournaments, and then being able to get them into first teams, and how also international coaches have come over and helped our younger players develop. If you look at different clubs and how Pep Guardiola's managed Phil Foden, how, what's happened with Raheem Sterling, the development of these players, Harry Kane, it's all good for the benefit of the game. And there is definitely a sense of optimism that the future is much brighter. And we just want to get away from these, even getting to the final. And it is such a big occasion for us. But when you're there, you don't want to just be the ones who are in the final. Nobody seems to remember the bridesmaids. It's about the bride. So, let's see.
Can I just touch on something there, Suman, that Andy said? I think in England, the Premier League, even though it's a hugely successful league in our country and abroad, it's almost a negative for player development, because all the main players want to come and play in England, and because English clubs are wealthy, they can pay big money, and it really does affect lower down the ladder in terms of players trying to transition to the first team. So I think the Premier League in recent years hasn't really helped with the youth development in England, and it's almost been like two systems fighting. You've had the FA, who are focused on the national team on one side, and then you've got the Premier League on the other side, which is heavily focused on marketing abroad, and attracting all the big names. So, though it pains me to say it, I've got to give the English FA some credit. You've got to give Gareth Southgate a huge amount of credit, and the coaches below him within the academy systems in England, who are obviously working really, really hard, and have now managed to produce a group of players, which, I don't know, Andy will probably have more information on this than what I can give, but I think most of the players in the England team could go and play in any league in Europe, which is a first time from my memory that I can think that's happened.
Wonderful. Last two questions before we go to the prediction. First question would be to Andy. What do you think about that penalty decision of Raheem Sterling? It sparked a lot of controversies. Many people said it's not a penalty. Some questioned about the role of the VAR. Some people said it's controversial. You cannot rule it out that it wasn't a penalty. How do you see this? Yeah,
really soft for me. Soft penalty, but obviously one that you take with both hands. I think VAR, whereas you've got obviously question mark the decision of overturning clear and obvious errors, I do feel that up to that point, VAR has been handled so differently to what it has been done in the English Premier League over this season, where it's been a distraction. It's been something that's taken attention away from the game. The decisions have been too long. It's been put too much focus on referees. I've been really disappointed at how it's been managed at the moment. But I think during this tournament, it was in the background, which as a coach who wants to see the ball moving more, it's there to overturn clear and obvious. I do think if there was any contact. It was minor. It was potentially on the way already down, and it was a huge, significant moment in the game. No question. They don't come any bigger.
Absolutely. Now coming back to Stevie. Stevie, that laser on the face of laser light on the face of Kasper Schmeichel when Harry Kane was about to take the penalty, that also sparked a bit of controversy. Wembley is all about passion and sportsman spirit. How do you see that incident actually?
I think the dangers of getting a laser in the eye, the long and well established, and I think in any crowd of 60,000 people, you're always going to unfortunately get one idiot, and it was an unfortunate moment. It was unfortunate that it had to happen at Wembley, and even more unfortunate that it had to happen in a semi-final on a big game. But as I said, out of 60,000 people to only have one idiot, although you don't want any idiots involved, it's not a bad ratio to have 59,599 people behaving themselves.
Absolutely. Now going straight to the prediction. Andy.
Oh, I don't know how to go here. Heart and head. It's a difficult one. I am going, obviously, a tight game, close game, potentially 1-1 extra time. England in extra time. I can't believe it. I would even consider saying England on penalties. That just sounds mad. So England in extra time, 2-1.
Stevie Dada.
I would love Italy to beat England on penalties. Absolutely love it. The only thing I'd like more, Suman, is that Italy win it the last minute of extra time and it's a Harry Kane on goal. Harry Kane on goal, last minute of extra time.
Unbelievable, Andy.
Oh, well, what do you expect? Credible.
Thank you so much, Stevie Dada. It's wonderful having you. It's wonderful, Andy, with the way you supported this show all the way through, the way you have been, spending your precious time to entertain all the fans who have been watching this particular show to get knowledge about the Euro 2020. And I'm sure all of them got thoroughly entertained with your rich knowledge and wisdom. Another cracking day of football. It started with Lionel Messi touching his first ever major title. It's to see whether it's coming home or going to Rome. Thanks for joining us.